Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
And now for something completely different.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Reality of Publishing Comics with me, Paul Gomez. Today we've got a very special guest, a good friend, Andrew Davis. Welcome to the show.
What's up, everybody?
How you doing today? All right, so this show is really talking to new creators and some creators that have been there that want to kind of know what's going on and the problems that I've ran into and how to avoid them. I want to talk a few subjects with you today, Andrew, especially economics and creating your own comics and how to raise value. But before we get to that, I definitely want to hit on a few subjects that you've talked about recently, including AI art.
I've been very controversial lately. Very.
And the subject's been controversial. I mean, it's definitely something that's been on everybody's mind lately. What are your takes on it?
Yeah, so I am very pro AI art. For those who don't know that.
Bang, 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 bang!
My camera seems to be going back and forth. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so I'm very pro AI art. For those who don't know, and that's how I feel. I feel it's a good thing. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I'm not too
it's
sure
great for marketing. It's horrible for comics.
I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, Paul's having problems with his camera, but I can take this conversation. Andrew, I'll be honest. I can't promote somebody who designs a comic book with AI art, because I know too many people that work way too hard to sideline them by somebody who typed keywords into an app. Not going to do that, bro.
No. I understand the argument on it, but the way I view it is that I view it as a tool versus, as a whole thing, where I don't see where. I guess it's a tricky conversation in a lot of ways, and this is what we're talking about. Where
the problem is where they get the art. That's what the problem is. They steal other people's existing art and they feed it into their apps, and then it gets a mishmash mess of stuff when you type in a keyword that might relate to that art, but it's not their art to use in the first place. So not in any way where you make money. If you're making money off something somebody else did, you got to pay them.
So then let me counter you with a fair argument. There's a lot of homage variants and a lot of variants such as Spider-Man 300 that has been thrown around.
That one person drew, not that somebody fed into an app and anybody can make. Do you see what I'm saying? Somebody actually drew that homage. Somebody actually put in the work on that homage. I can't get behind people that are shortcutting the work, dude. It's the same thing as if you got somebody roofing your house. Are you going to go to the guy who's shortcutting the work, or are you going to go to the guy who's putting in a true craftsmanship?
So the whole thing of me being pro AI art is that I'm not saying that, the way I view it is that I view it as a tool to just spitball ideas, for instance. So for instance, if I take data from somebody's Kickstarter, and Kickstarter provides a lot of data, and I say, well, cover A, B, C, and D all sold really well, and covers E, F, G didn't sell well, and how do we up the ante, or how do I even give an idea for somebody, and I want to throw 15 ideas to somebody, you could use AI art to generate rough concepts for somebody and then hand it to an artist.
Character creation and concept art is not selling people art. This is what I'm trying to say. I'm not down with the way they steal the art and they feed it into the app in the first place, and then just any Joe Blow can go type in some keywords and then make a print and go sell it. Do you see what I'm saying? There's no artistic value involved whatsoever, except the people whose art was stolen in the first place. And that's why I can't get behind the apps. I can't get behind any of it, bro, because I know too many people that work. Paul's going through learning to draw right now.
Right. Now I agree with both sides of this, and I've heard this from a lot of creators out there. Of course, my side is kind of a little bit different than both of them. I'm kind of in the middle there. You have those people who do the digital art, and they say that's a little bit of a shortcut as well. So to say that you can't use AI art is kind of...
I don't see it that way at all. They're still doing the brush strokes. They're still doing the line work. They're still doing the art. Okay. And they could pick up a pencil and do it on paper too.
A lot of them, not all of them. Again, there's some people that do digital art that don't draw as much. Some of them throw it in there and kind of uniquely shape it and whatnot, but don't exactly draw. If you go to conventions nowadays, you might find a digital artist who can't draw on the spot.
I was at a con and I had somebody on my show, and what happened is that he was at a con and somebody asked for a commission, and it actually took him a little bit of time to figure out how to do the commission because he was so used to digital art that he forgot how to use a pencil. Forgot how to use a pencil, but forgot how not to, draw something without a computer. And I understand that it's still work, and I'm not denying that obviously using Pro Tools or whatever else, or using an Apple Pencil, I'm not exactly sure because I'm not an artist, but that, obviously there is skill there. But, the way I view it is I view it as a tool. I view it that it can save time per se. It could also spitball ideas. Also, if you're coming up with something, and even if you're just trying to storyboard something before you hand it over to an artist or seeing if the concept can work, I think all of that is where AI art is very, very effective, because that's how I view it. Because before I hand something over to somebody and I'm going to drop 3, maybe 6, maybe 12 grand on art, maybe I want to see even if the concept works, because we're taking words to pictures. So that's how I view it, is it's a tool. I get that I'm not looking to put somebody out of work, but I also feel that art has stagnated as well. And I feel that...
What? Okay, really? I gotta get out now.
Seriously.
I gotta get out.
Well, and I understand what you're saying. I talked to some artists that use AI art just to do the backgrounds because they don't want to have to do the repetitiveness. And I kind of understand that as well. I guess I'm kind of in the middle of it.
It's a very controversial topic, and there's no right or wrong answer. So I did a whole episode on this. And what it was is that me and my friend Roger Curtis, and Roger was very nervous about the entire show. And if you actually listen to it, it was a very adult conversation about a very complicated conversation. And I also come at it slightly different, where I work in accessibility, and we are right now going through automation at my job to solve things like alt text and captions and transcripts. So I get why people are terrified of it, because let's be realistic. Anytime somebody says, I'm going to take away your livelihood, you should be terrified. And I understand why somebody is scared of that. And that's something that I get. It's also brand new. It's a brand new technology. But I also think that there are things that AI art can do really, really well. I think there's concepts. I think there's uses for it. And I have a different use for it. I don't want AI art for AI art. I actually want it for things like alt text, because it'll make my job easier. So I understand that AI art is only the impetus to a whole bunch of other things that actually will benefit society on a much, much deeper level than just enjoyment. I not to say that comics and art isn't enjoyable, but if you can solve my problem of doing alt text, which is a step away from AI art, if I can take a picture and give it a bunch of commands, easily it can generate alt text for me, which makes my job about 30 to 40 times easier. So I have a very selfish reason why I want it.
But whose pictures are they that you're feeding into this? That's where I'm trying to go with you. This is not your art to use without permission. This is not their art to feed into their apps without permission.
I understand the controversy of it all, and I understand that it's going to be out there, and there's going to be a lot of people that use it.
There would be no AI art apps if there wasn't art to steal.
Now, my question is this: with digital art or AI art, how are you going to be able to police that, or how are you going to be able to tell what's what? Now, I know whenever I see AI art, I can usually tell. Or whenever I see digital art, I can kind of understand where it's coming from. But now that it's a part of the society, is there a way that people are going to be able to police this more? I know there's been conventions that haven't allowed it, but is this one of those things that
it's tricky? It's tricky.
Yeah.
I'm going to counter you with a different thing, but I think it's going to come full circle, right? I think, do you know card counting by any chance?
Yeah.
You've heard card counting, right?
Yeah.
The rules with a casino are the following: is that they can basically initiate what is called a back off. So a back off means is that if they think you're card counting, they could say, sir, you can only bet the minimum at the table. You could play any other game. We're not going to kick you out of the casino, but you can't play blackjack anymore. Or you could, if you bet one thing, you could bet the entire thing, the whole hand. If you want to play $100 a hand, be our guest, but you can't raise or lower your bet. And so per shoe. So what I think might happen with AI art, and this is just one theory, is that if con says, oh, we think you're doing AI art, they might initiate a back off. And so they might say, and it might be true, it may not be true, but then they're going to be the distinguishing factor of it. But then that creates a whole nother thing. Well, can I get my table money back? I spent money to be here. And then that's going to be dealt with in a very different manner with legality. But they might just have their own policies. Now, they could be wrong, though. And if they're wrong and it's proven they're wrong, a con might have to pay a good amount of money to the person they falsely accused for a lot of reasons. For a lot of reasons. But I think that's one side of it. But it's also the idea that, let's say a con becomes wrong, they may not want to ever challenge again if they wind up having to pay 10 to 20 grand for disparaging somebody's reputation. So it's going to sort itself out on that fact. But conversely, on the legality level of copyright, and I know New York has a rule and a law where there's something called transformative. So how far does something have to go to become transformative? And that's where this gets really interesting. And I'm not a lawyer, but that's the real question. And until it is, I guess, challenged in court on how far something needs to go, there you go. So
yeah. Now, Pops talks about cons making a policy to say no AI art. And this is one of the things I think is very tricky, because looking at AI art and digital art, sometimes they can be mistaken for each other. I find it hard to believe that AI art is going to be able to be banned everywhere across the board. I know a lot of people are against it, and like I said, I'm kind of in the middle. I understand that there are some people that want to use it, because I'm a writer too, and I didn't have any artistic ability, but I went out there and looked for an artist to do my art. And the reason I wanted someone to do it was because I knew there was that ability to talk and figure out what you wanted, as opposed to AI art. It's a little bit more stiff. So, I mean, do you really think that there's a marketplace for an AI art kind of comic?
I know Diamond just did something, actually. Just maybe 3-4 days ago. They just announced something that there's the first AI art fully drawn book. So we're going to see what that looks like. We're going to see how it does. We're going to see if people are for it or against it. But I think that there's a variety of measures that can be done with this. I think somebody can do AI art as a background, right? I think AI art can be fully done in a book. I think you could do a cover AI art wise. I think you could potentially color with AI. I think that this is where it gets really tricky, right? What if I drew a whole book myself, right? And I drew a cover, but I was a bad colorist and I had AI color it. Is that really taking and stealing work if AI makes a determination on color? Or better yet, what if we had AI being able to letter your book? So again, this is where it becomes a tool, because if all of a sudden it can do something for me, but it's creating it out of thin air, like lettering, is that really stealing, artwork? Because, but again, that's the whole thing. So, and I mean, that's how I feel on it. But again, I'm not saying this is not black and white. What is
Right.
really interesting to me is I threw this out on Facebook, I threw it out on Twitter, and people were kind of just laughing at me. And I was like, but let's engage. Let's have a discussion on it. Let's talk about it. And that's
Right.
what I think is the biggest problem is that I think people are terrified to talk about this. I mean, if you
and they
listen
just
to-
close off. I think the biggest staple on AI art or AI capabilities is if the big two are going to start using it, because I don't think anyone's really going to accept it until that point. Me personally, I hope that it doesn't become a staple, but then again, it is here, so I mean it's hard to ignore it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a complicated issue, and the only reason why I wanted to talk about it is that I saw all these people not wanting to talk about it.
Do you
And
know there are people who get their own art thrown in their face after what they've done, after what somebody's done with it on AI app? Look, this AI app made your art look better. Dude, throwing fake art into a artist's face, their own fucking style that somebody fed into an app and then threw back at them. That's shitty, bro. There's nothing to get behind here. They stole somebody's art and fed it into their app, period. Now, when they start paying people to feed their art into their apps, then okay.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Pops. What if an AI art program comes up?
Dude.
What if an AI program comes up where they do ask for volunteers or
That's
artwork?
what I said. If they're paying people, if they're doing it above board, that might be different. Right now,
I don't think
they
anyone
are
would accept it.
stealing art.
I don't think anyone would accept it, even if they did do
I
that.
don't
think
either.
that's what I'm saying. I think that AI art, the way it is now, is taken from other people, and it shouldn't be.
Without
but the fact of
that's the problem, Andrew. It's because it's without their permission.
I don't think that's the big problem. I think the biggest problem is artists don't want AI art to compete with. And I think a lot of artists don't feel like
it ain't even close to a real artist in actual, when you look at it. Okay, I've seen some badass backgrounds, some spacescapes and shit like that, but I haven't seen anything that comes close to an actual artist putting pen to paper.
So I'll answer this. I mean, one of the things is that it's at its infancy.
That's why they steal it, because they don't have anything comparable.
So we made a very interesting distinguishing factor. AI art is different than self-learning. I think the thing that artists should be terrified of, and we're gonna get there eventually, is a concept of self-learning. Self-learning is a different thing. So that means that a robot is sitting in a class next to somebody and it is learning how to draw, and then it's taking leaps and bounds, much like a human would. That's not artificial. That's different completely, right?
No. AI is just mashing up the art. There's no thought process behind it. It's like, let's take these words and whatever the computer decides these words represent out of the art pool that we have to draw from is what you're going to get. If you
there is a thought process.
Art pools and 10 different apps,
there's still a thought process of putting it in.
Keywords, it's going to be different on every app. It's not going to be the same.
No. I was asking a distinguishing factor versus self-learning versus AI.
It doesn't learn anything. That's what I'm saying.
No, he's saying, what about self-learning programs? I mean, they're coming up as well.
Dude,
that's very different. If you have
then we'll have AI writing all the stories and we won't need any creativity at all.
Well, that's the way AI is going.
Then we won't need any creativity at all. Nobody has to feed anything into the AI for it to produce something. Garbage in, garbage out. One of my very favorite computer terms from when I first went to computer school. Garbage in, garbage out. Okay? If they're feeding it garbage, what's it going to learn? Garbage. If they're feeding it Renoir, what's it going to learn? Okay, it depends on what you feed into it. Just like all these AI apps you have today, it depends on what you feed into it. If you're illegally feeding somebody else's art into your app and you're profiting from it, then you're scum. Period.
But the thing about it is, well, whenever there's progress in any form in society, I mean, whether it's cars or whether it's modes of transportation, there is always that kickback, and this is where AI is going. It's starting to build a reputation and get a little bit bigger than it is. So sooner or later, it's going to get to that point where you're not going to be able to tell that it's inferior, or that you're not going to be able to tell if it's stealing from people.
I'll be able to tell because I'll know what the artist's style was before he went and started doing AI shit.
Right.
Okay, look, there's no way to hide if you change and suddenly start using AI. We've seen your art already. We know what you can do. If you start fucking padding that with computer bullshit, we're gonna know.
Where it's going to get tricky, and I'll acknowledge this, is that somebody who's never done anything before does AI, and then they do 15 different styles, and you're not going to know what's what, and that's going to be an issue. Right. And you know, but again, I think the biggest issue here is that I think we need to have these conversations, and here's why. If every artist and every person in comics wants to stop this, or wants to stop it, or somehow get royalties or something like that, we need to have open, honest discussions about that.
There's been plenty of open, honest discussions. Where are the people who created these apps on these discussions? They're the ones stealing and profiting from the art. Can you get them out on the show? Hold on. Look, because the artists can talk about it till they're blue.
Hold up, though.
Until you bring out the people that are stealing the art, we don't get any satisfaction.
So this is the real question, and it's actually a responsibility question. If we buy into that concept for 1 second, one of the things is that, did the app and the creators of the app steal it, or did the user steal it? Because those are two different things. Or is the argument
feeding the art into the app? That's who stole it.
Well, I mean, like I said, whenever something new comes out,
the app is the person who stole the app if they didn't have permission, or who stole the art if they didn't have permission.
Let's talk about music in the same way, because I mean, there's a lot of people in the past that have said that they've stolen music whenever it came from a certain type of music, but wasn't exactly theirs. So they might have changed maybe a note just to make it theirs, and that's kind of like what AI is doing. But it's acceptable nowadays to take a song and just change a few things and say that it's yours.
No, you might change a few notes or the tone or whatever, but then you still had to write a whole different set of lyrics. It's a different song, bro.
Not necessarily. I mean, there's still.
Look at the Beatles song. There's a Beatles song and La Bamba that are the exact same. There's a Beatles song and La Bamba that are the exact same thing, but they all got different lyrics.
There's a song called "The Axis of Awesome." It's the 4-chord song, and it's a parody, and they're playing a bunch of songs that all sound similar, and they use the same 4 chords. A lot of them use it in similar orders, but the lyrics are obviously different, and then there's some different things in those songs, but it's very similar.
Talking about an AI program where you take 10 different people's music and you feed it into that, and the AI program spits out something different, and the guy starts making money off those 10 people's song. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like
that's kind of what music does. They mix it up sometimes and create a new song by mixing 2 or 3 songs together and saying, "Hey, this is mine."
That's sampling crap. I don't believe in any of that shit, dude. That's garbage too. It's garbage.
Well, no, I agree, but it's acceptable now for music.
No number ones out of that crap. They don't get hits.
I don't know. I mean, go look at Who Let the Dogs Out. I mean, you could see the levels of different from what the first creators to where it came number 1, and that was like 3 different stages, but they didn't change much, and that became a number 1.
I haven't seen any remakes of anything that has become number 1, dude.
Well, I just gave you an example. Who Let the Dogs Out was huge.
Dude, that's not a song. Come on, man.
Well, I mean, it's the hugest example in music right now. I mean, whenever they talk about,
you could go to Wet Ass Pussy or whatever and say that too, but it wasn't a song, bro. That's not that shit ain't even real, you know. That shit ain't even real. That's like comparing Stickman to fucking Preston Acevedo.
Well, like I said, AI art here, it's kind of a hard conversation to have, and a lot of people have different viewpoints. I think we could talk about this for days, but I want to get on to the next subject.
I don't want to upset it Pops anymore. So.
Oh, you didn't. The people who created these apps did. The people who
Right.
steal the art are the ones that made me upset. The people who go out here and act like it's okay or in some way it can be used aren't artists.
Well, the next subject might get Pops riled up too, because this is a controversial one that's been a little bit big out there. Let's talk about paying to be on streams or streams that ask you to be paid whenever you come on.
that's his thing, not mine. I'll be out.
Well, and again, I'm
Okay,
kind of
okay.
I'm kind of in the middle.
Let me preface this. Here's what sometimes happens, right? There's a lot of people in comics who are promoters.
Right.
And what happens is that a brand new creator comes on and has no connections. They produced the book, and they're working their ass off, right? Hopefully I could say that word. I don't think that's a terrible word to say.
No, go ahead.
But they're working their ass off, and then they find a promoter, and then that promoter charges them for some help on their Kickstarter, some media, and some other stuff. And the reason how this all started was because I had a bunch of people try to book guests on my show. They didn't ask me for money, but the guest was paying the promoter to get them on 30, 40 shows. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm doing the majority of the work here.
Right.
Where is the transaction here? And then same thing happened to a fellow friend of mine, Tyler Carpenter, and we both got pissed off because we're like, wait a second, I'm working my ass off. It's my name on the show. It's my StreamYard bill. And if you want to be on my show and you're paying somebody else, what about me in this position? And that's where I got upset. That's where this
I
is.
totally get that. If I find out somebody's charging to get somebody on my show, if I find out that somebody's profiting to get somebody on my show, I'll be hot because I don't charge to be on my show.
Right. Now, and like I said, I think I have a different viewpoint than most people. I know that a lot of people are either it should be free or it should cost a little bit. I'm kind of in the middle. I've seen some shows that offer both. Either, you get in line for free, which usually it'll take you a little bit longer to get on, or you could pay a small portion and kind of jump ahead of the line. I think that's one of the best business models there are.
Booking fee? Look, do you guys remember way back when I wanted to charge a booking fee for CromCon because I was getting mad about the people that would book a spot and then not show up? And I was like, man, I'm going to start charging people $2 for their spot in CromCon just so that they have a little money in the game. They might actually show up, right? I caught so much shit for wanting to do that from comic people. Just because I wanted to protect my time and my, what I do, right?
And that's what it is. It's like, the promoters, the people who are streaming, you guys, Andrew or Pops, that are having these guests on and promoting this stuff, you're taking this time and effort into pushing these people and out of your busy schedule, and then also giving your audience to these creators. Why shouldn't you be compensated at least a little bit? I mean, I don't think that really is a big a problem, but I understand that you should give a break to some of the new people as well. I don't see it.
That's why I had to change gears. I had to look at it like, okay, I can't ask every creator that wants to come on the show for money, but I can try to line up sponsorships to help get my bills paid. People like Laughing Rogue, Critical Blast, all these people whose logos you see on our stuff now, they help pay the bills, and that way I don't have to charge people to be on the show or whatever in order to keep the show going, right?
Yeah. So I'm doing the same, and obviously, but I'm just taking a break from sponsors. I got a lot of other things going on in my personal life that
I figure it was the first of the year, and all my old sponsorships were running out. It was a good time to go for renewals, and we picked up a couple new ones, so we're doing good, yo. I like it. But yeah, I understand that. I understand where you're coming from completely on that.
Because it irritated me. I felt disrespected. That's where it came from, is that I felt disrespected that you respect your promoter and yet you somehow feel okay to pay person A, but not person B, and I'm giving you my time. I'll put in
we're
my
the
name
ones
on-
actually doing the work, but you're going to pay the guy that spent 5 minutes to ask, or 10 seconds to ask me if you could be on my show. You're going to pay that guy, but you're not going to pay me for the hour I'm giving you. You'll pay him for the 10 seconds, but you won't pay me for the hour. Right.
And so, and then to even go further into this, and I don't think you have an issue with Tyler Carpenter, right?
No,
He's
no,
all right.
he's a good guy.
I love Tyler. Tyler's great. He's got a great book. The point is that we were talking about this, and it really facilitated an interesting conversation, and I think it actually really opened up a door. I think a lot of creators were actually very divided. From people were messaging him, people were messaging me, and it was very, very cool because, again, it was a very controversial discussion, but there was a reason behind it, because when something like that comes about, and also, media is media, and it's complicated. And I'll be very honest, right now, all of last year for season 3 of my show, I was extremely selective. And to get on my show, it's one of two ways. Either you have a really cool, interesting book, and I don't want to sound like mean about this, but if you have a zombie book, that doesn't interest me because that's been done 6 ways from Sunday. But if you have a book like Six Gun Gorilla, I'm more interested in that. And so that's the other thing too, is that, but if you throw me $5, you know what it is? My attitude's going to change because I also understand that that's how you cut the line a lot quicker.
Right. And like I said, I've seen that business model pop up a little bit more on a few of the other promoters, where they have that line that you can get in for free, but it takes a while longer to get in, or you can pay a few extra dollars and kind of schedule it a little bit to the more of your availability, or your choice kind of thing. I prefer that. I think that's great, because I honestly believe that promoters should get at least $1 or $2. I don't see, like I said, if the promoter's taking their time out, making a day or a certain time for you to get on, why not give them $1? I mean, everywhere else you're going to have to pay for advertisement. Why shouldn't you in book comics too?
Look, it's been fun for 3 years doing this. I did it for a long time out of pocket.
Right.
There came a point where I couldn't do it that way anymore, and I asked the community to help me build something bigger. And that's what's happening. People have jumped in and they're helping us build something bigger. Committed Comics, Thomas Doherty over there, man. Good fucking dude. He was one of the first ones to jump in when I knew this was, it could be near the end, right? Okay, Chris at Laughing Rogue jumped in. They helped me out the last 6 months of last year and kept the show going. Okay, I decided that I'd rather play your ads and put your logo all over my stuff than charge you a fee per show. Okay, I'd rather, just play your ads and stuff and promote you guys as best I can. The best way I can promote you is you give me an ad to play, because then it's your words and it's what you want played. You see what
Atrocity
I'm saying?
Press right here is saying that radio stations don't get paid to have people on. It's a symbolic relationship. Well, here's the thing: it's like radio stations got sponsors and promotions.
Yeah, they get ad revenue.
And if you want a show, then usually you do have to get paid. You have to pay to get on. This is one of those things. It's kind of like a
tricky too. I'm going to throw a monkey wrench. So obviously I ask a lot of guests, and a lot of people are happy to come on. They're thrilled to come on, but every once in a while you run into somebody who wants to be paid to be on. And it's like, it goes back to also the relationship between guest and show. Mm-hmm. And it's a complicated one where, if my revenue is based on ads, then there's no way in hell I'm going to be paying a guest, because the whole shtick, from my understanding, is you're coming on because you have something that you want to promote, and my audience is going to listen, and then you're going to be promoting yourself. And that's the exchange. Matt said,
it's symbiotic. We need you guys to have content, but at the same time, you need us to tell people about what you're doing. It's symbiotic.
And that's where it gets interesting why, certain people don't come on my show. And it's not that they're bad. It's that I don't think they're a good fit for my audience, or their book, or they're not going to bring something that I feel to the show. And I hate to turn people down, but if I could have a celebrity on my show, or I could have somebody who's, running, I guess doing their first Kickstarter of a zombie book. And I don't want to pick on anybody in particular if I'm being generic. I love Laurie. It's not Laurie.
It doesn't matter.
Show.
It doesn't matter. Not zombies, man. Some people like them.
The point is that, I also have to understand that I have to diversify. And
Right.
It's a tricky situation. Again, that interview got heat because I think it was something that hadn't been said in a very long time in a very articulate way. And I think a lot of people are very opinionated about it. And I'm glad we did it. And I think it was important. But again, it's also very gray because it's complicated. Just like everything else in life.
Yeah, it is complicated. And that's definitely one of the things. I mean, we talk about AI art, or we're talking about paying to be on a show. These are things that new creators and a lot of creators nowadays kind of either ignore or don't want to talk about. And whenever they're faced with those issues, it becomes a problem because they haven't talked about it or heard about it, or there's not a certain road that everybody goes down together. So
I also think that, just going back to the AI art thing in the interview that I did with Radrick, he's very nervous because he runs, a comic company and a publishing house, Royal House Comics, and he doesn't want to insult, anybody. And I think it's also very complicated because people feel that if they speak the truth, and this is in society, that they're going to get slammed no matter what they say.
Right.
Well, I like a Pops is just like, I'm sorry, Pops. I'm sorry.
What I got to say, you know what I mean? Look, I said this earlier on Christie's show. There's some people are going to like you and some people are not going to like you.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about that. What you have to do is be you. Always be you. That way the people that like you know you're not full of shit. And the people that don't like you, what can you say? Be you. Be who you are. Don't be fake.
Exactly.
Come out here and be you, and you'll attract the people that are like-minded, and the people that you don't. It's like, hey, I'm still trying to promote your book, guy. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like me. I still want to promote your book. I look at what Max said right there. He said you shouldn't have to pay guests either. I look at it like this. If somebody's cool enough to come out on my show, especially like somebody like, okay, let's go big name. Let's say Mike Barron comes out on my show pretty regular. I see a lot of Mike. Mike and I are friends, right? I play Mike's ad all the time. Mike don't pay me. Mike comes out on my show, and my appreciation for him coming out on my show is that I play his ad all the time.
Right.
Okay. If it's a big name and you're drawing attention from that name, then do be nice and be cool to that person and help them sell books because they're going to help you get seen too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
so now,
give a piece of advice. Sorry to cut you off. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, right.
I could ever give to anybody. It's like there's all these cosplayers that I interviewed when they had 30,000 Instagram followers. Now they have 1 million. And I'm still good with them because I wasn't an actor.
I might be a little too old not to be a dick in most circumstances. Okay?
You know what I mean? Be professional.
When you're on your 60th revolution around the sun, you really don't give a shit anymore.
Hey, I'm on my 30th as of yesterday. I turned 30
Speaking
yesterday.
of, happy birthday. Yeah, 30 years old. How's it feel?
I'm okay. I'm having a better year than last year for a lot of reasons, but I'm not exactly having a good week, but that's a different discussion.
Speaking of different,
my job is torturing me in a different way. Where there's a problem at my job that is frustrating, but I'm not quitting. I just want to make that crystal clear.
Speaking of different discussions, I want to kind of move it along because I could probably ask you questions all day long. I'm always very inquisitive. Now, not talking about AI or not talking about paid sponsorships. I want to talk about numbers in comics, specifically.
Oh boy.
Specifically, how do people get their comic to be of more value? Let's say because I'm an indie creator.
There you go. I'll let you have that one, Andrew. It's all yours, bro.
How do you get a comic that you put out there and make it more spec? I guess
so there's really two ways you could go about this. One of the things, and the simplest answer is exclusivity. Anytime something is exclusive, no matter which way you cut it, whether it's harder to find, whether only so many of them are going to be released every week. So I'll throw some. Let's say that you're going to do 100 print run, right?
Right.
Now there's only 100 of those books out there. So obviously your book has to have the goods first and foremost. You need to have a good story. You need to have good art in it. You need to have a good marketing team behind it to some degree. Right. You have to have a good concept, a good title. That all is going to help. But then once you get into exclusivity, so for instance, if you say I'm only going to produce 100 blank covers, right? Those blank covers, there's only 100 of them for somebody to sketch on. And so that's one way how to make something exclusive and also more rare and more valuable, because now you're in a club and you're in a position that's really cool. Or better yet, I'm going to throw a cool Kickstarter out there. Mount Olympus is running a Kickstarter. They have, I think they're running for 3 weeks. Each week, they have what is known as a vanishing variant. So you have about 5 days to back it, and then it's gone. So everybody who backed it in those 5 days are going to get that if they backed it. But then the week after, a new one comes up. But the old one that was there isn't there anymore. So that also makes it more rare because it's a very time-sensitive issue.
Now, with something like that, you do have to worry about the cost per cover, because each cover is going to cost. And then if you're going to switch from one cover to another whenever you're printing, that's going to be an additional cost too. So you definitely have to understand that you have to have that customer base to do that. Right.
They're going to do 120,000 easy on Kickstarter.
Right.
They're a different breed.
They're a bigger
comic. About 50,000. You become a different breed. So obviously that's the other thing too, and I was going to focus on that in a second, but that's the type of stuff that is very, very cool. So every time you add a new cover, obviously it's going to cost more money because you got to pay for the art, you got to pay for other things. Even if you're adding a nude variant and you already did the regular variant, and then a week later you're doing a nude variant, it's still going to cost you more in printing and changing printing plates or whatever, how that works. I'm not exactly 100% sure on the process, but the idea is that there you go. So
Max knows all about print costs and stuff. He gave you all that rundown. And
I'm not going to.
What's happening, Brian?
Yeah, I'm not going to speak on the details because I don't want to mislead anybody, and because I'm not an expert in the actual logistics of it, because I've never printed a book before.
But you definitely have a unique aspect of how you see things and how you understand it. So that's definitely why I want to ask a few questions.
Let me talk about the other side now.
Sure, go ahead.
So the other side is that where the other side is that getting your costs down. So the way you can add value is having more exclusivity and being able to raise up your prices and having limited runs and things of that nature, or having time-sensitive issues, or getting your costs down. And so understanding the concept of what a unit cost is, understanding that the more books you print on something, it's going to obviously make your print run cheaper. So if you have the ability to print 500 copies or 1,000 copies, and you have a cover A, and you're going to be selling your cover A for the next year, but you have the extra money to do it, it might be cheaper in the long run to print 1,000 copies of your cover A, knowing you're going to need those for the next year or 2 years, and print them at an extremely cheaper cost and then therefore you're getting more value as a person in the run of it, I guess, the owner of the comic. And so that's how you create personal value in the business.
Now, one of the last conversations we had, we were talking about numbers and, how many you should print per print run to kind of keep that value of that comic. And you should switch to a second print run after so long. If you were talking to a brand new creator that didn't know anything about numbers, what would you tell them to keep that print run number under? I mean, if you print like 2,000-3,000, that value is going to kind of go down. That spec's not going to be up there. Would you tell them to keep it to like 1,000, 500 or something like that?
So every new creator is obviously different.
Right.
So, I mean, it depends on who you are for just generalization. But let's say that, honestly, if you're a brand new creator with your first book, you don't know if it's good, bad, you think it's lightning in the bottle, right? and you think that this is the next big thing. But let's say your economics is that you have $6,000 and you raised another $6,000 on Kickstarter. So you have $12,000 to play with, give or take, to invest and put into your book. All said and done after fees. We're just going to use simple numbers. I would print, and let's say you're going to engage in what I like to engage in, which is forward carrying. So I'm going to explain that concept briefly. The idea is that if I invested $6,000 into my comic, and then I raised 12 on Kickstarter, I would take that $6,000 and not pay myself back, but use it for the next issue. So you now have $6,000 to print, stretch goals, taxes, a variety of other stuff. So I would print a good amount of extra books within reason against that $6,000. So if every backer to print and cover your taxes ran you $4,500, because remember, you carry the other 6 over. So your issue 2 is taken care of as far as art goes. I would then take that maybe $1,500 and I would print maybe $800 worth of books. Because this way you have some money in the bank in case something arises in issue 2, or you want to up a cover. So now you have a little bit of a bigger pot for the next round, but you also have more merchandise, and maybe you could get a little bit of a cheaper shipping discount. But that's what I would do on the extra. So I would reevaluate how much money I have. Conversely, maybe that you're going to do issue 2 in 4 months, and that the statistics sort of engage that you're going to need another 100 cover A's. You might want to print those 100 cover A's if you're going to run 2 or 3 more Kickstarters that year for that book.
That's going to benefit your pocket. I understand that, but we're talking about the consumer. Like if they're wanting to buy a book and to raise it, have a value being raised off of that book.
The way you protect the consumer in that is, let's say that you do that and you put in either 100, or 200 cover A's, right? So you have to make a decision as a business, right?
Right.
So the main decision is the following: is that do you change covers, with cover A's, or do you always just say, hey, look, cover A is just going to be straight up cover A, right? And cover A is a $10 book, and it's going to always be $10, or maybe it'll be $12 in 5 years due to inflation, right? But then you limit your cover B, C's, and D's, and those don't get reprinted. So so now you might make a decision saying, look, the cover A is not for the collector, right? So there's no limit on the cover A because you made a determination. And that's a decision people sometimes make because it's a simple one, saying I want a base number and I don't care about, because I don't find that, but cover A is also the cheapest. And so the cover A is not the valuable one. The cover B, C's, and D's are, and maybe those are limited to 200, or they're whatever was ordered is printed. So that's one way how to protect. Or what sometimes happens is that somebody says, look, every 1,500 of cover A's that gets printed, we then change the trade dress on it. So it goes from a yellow on red to yellow on purple, for instance. And we now know that is, the second printing or the third printing, or it could very well be that somebody says that yellow and red or that yellow and purple looks super cool. And so Marvel's done this with Star Wars. And some of those, like third or fourth printing of the Star Wars books, when Marvel took it back over, are much cooler than the first one. Much cooler. And I actually rather have a fourth printing of that book than the first printing, because it's a red background and it just looks a lot cooler, but it's not as valuable. So but again, that's a business decision you have to make. But I definitely love the business decision on Kickstarters, just on a personal level, when somebody's like, I'm not printing covers B, C's, and D's. And maybe if we only sold 20, then we had ordered 25, we have 5 of them left. And then once those 25 are gone, they're gone. We're not reprinting that book. We might put it on a metal. We might do a version of it, but we're not going to print that version of it. And I think that's a really good way how to protect your customer.
And a lot of brand new creators don't look at the aspect of, is there going to be any value? Most Kickstarters or, brand new comics out there aren't really going to go up in price, because a lot of the Kickstarters and stuff are independents and not known, or they probably wouldn't have staying power in the industry. How do you talk to a new creator and tell them how to increase your value other than limiting or, that.
I say change your attitude. Change
Uh-huh.
your attitude. We're in a different age, everybody. It's welcome to the 2023, right? We're in 2023, right?
Yeah.
All right. Again, it's been a long weekend. It's only Wednesday for me.
Right.
But anyway, the point is that everything in comics right now is optional. For
Right.
Netflix, for Hulu, for Disney, you name it, it's optional. I mean, I live in Bethel, Connecticut, and right now Yonkers, which isn't that far in New York, they're converting all these old warehouses into movie studios.
Right.
Everything is optional. And so what I say to comic creators is that your book, it has just as good a shot at being on the big screen or Hulu or anything else. It has as anything Disney's pushing out, anything DC's pushing out, anything Image is pushed out.
Right.
You know, it has,
If you're willing to give it to them and let them trash it anyway, yeah.
That's a different subject altogether. So I do want to get to one other subject definitely before we get to
hopefully I answered the question. So that's what I say, and this is where I'm going with. You'd be surprised. There can be a lot of money made, but also people need to change their horizon. If you're looking to pick up a book, and I'm looking to pick up your book, Paul, Bushy Boo Circus, and then flip it a day later, that's not the correct horizon to look at it.
Right.
If you want to make money and have your books go up in value. A lot of books need a timeline of anywhere from a year to 10 years. But that's the thing. I'll give an example and just throw a book out there. Ultimate Fallout 4 didn't mean anything until the movie came out, and they were giving them away for free on Free Comic Book Day in New York City. They were giving away first prints of that book for free. I know because I got two. And now it's like a $600-700 9.8 book.
Right.
So my point is that that's a pretty good rate of return, is all I'm going to say. But again, 8 years later, that book is worth a good fortune, and it's going to be worth a lot more when the live action comes. But anyway,
definitely.
Sorry.
No problem. I like I said, I definitely want to get to one other subject, and that's like signatures and not signatures being sent out on Kickstarters. I know some people really want a signature, but I know some people like, why'd you sign it? I definitely didn't want that signed. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think people should ask first. I think that's the golden rule. People should ask, and here's why.
Set up 2 tiers on your campaign, one for a signed book, one for a not signed book. Let the people fucking do it that way and save all that.
That's one way how to do it. Also, sometimes some people want it to be signed in the inside, not on the cover itself. And but I do think there is value sometimes with the signature. I also think people sometimes just want it to be nice. I think though that I got a book that was beautiful, and the signature, not to call anybody out, ruined the beautiful cover.
So,
and I'm like,
well, back in the day, they used to they signed them on the inside at the bottom on the border. Wait, back when I was young, 40 years ago, they didn't sign the cover of books because they didn't cover up the art. They didn't scribble on the art. But now it's like if you ask somebody, they will sign it on the inside. And some old school people like Mike Baron just naturally do sign on the inside. But again, it's something that you can put in your survey. Do you want the book signed? Where would you like it signed? All that can be handled without any what happens after. It can all be handled on your campaign very simply. You just take the time to make that extra tier or fill out the extra questions on the survey.
And because I bring these up because I know that a lot of new creators don't understand it or don't know the ramifications of it. And I've gotten these questions from other people. Well, why wouldn't you sign it? That kind of stuff.
There's a few reasons. I can answer that really quickly.
Sure.
So sometimes people just don't want a signature. Also, sometimes I want to get the book signed myself and meet the creator. And I want to have a good time with that. Sometimes, I'm selling the book, and selling a book signed sometimes is more difficult than sometimes it's not. It's easier. And so depending on who it is, accessibility, things of that nature, because this is a business. And so obviously that's the reason why. Also, sometimes, I know the person and I'm like, cool, I want it signed because it's a personal book and I don't really care at that point. And also sometimes, it's just like you don't know what it's going to do. And you're like, you know what, I'm going to see this person next week and I want to get it graded. And there's a whole thing about grading and, that's the thing too. And it's just the rules of the land, no matter which way you feel about it. Me and Pops have gone into this and we don't have to get into it, but they have their rules, CGC, and so does CBCS. And so you might want to follow their rules where they have to witness the signature if you buy into it. And so that's the thing too, is that it's their rules. And
you can have a video of the person signing the book and they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
So that's the rationale behind it all. And again,
there's also the people that are just purists. Hey, if you sign the book, it's not mint anymore.
Right. No, I understand. I understand all that. Like I try to explain this to people, and that's the reason I'm asking it on this show, because I want to bring it up. Now, I've never really
want to go get a remark. If you really want something on the cover of your book, have somebody do a remark on it. That's actual art by the artist involved in the book, and that will increase the value of the book without hands down, without any doubt.
Okay?
Or commission or something like that is always cool.
Now,
I can show you one that I got right here handy that I'm especially proud of. Especially proud of this one because on there, and I'm in the book. Okay, so actually, this has the very first appearance of Pops in a comic book. This book right here, The Crew by Todd Wargula. John R. Smith did the remark and the cover design, the Atari cartridge cover design. He did that. Dude, cool. Look, if you're gonna go for it and try to make something worth more, go all in on it. Don't half-ass it.
Yeah, and Jeff Mute says that some artists charge about $150 for remarks. That brings me to my last question that I really have for today. I've never charged for a signature. Should new creators charge for signatures on their books?
Oh man, see that's
I know a lot of people in the industry kind of look down on new creators. I say if you're a new creator, you should be allowed to charge for your signature. I just wouldn't charge much. But again, like I said, I've never charged for a signature.
This is how I view it, right? It's a business decision. A lot of things are business decisions, in my opinion. So I'll give an example. Let's say, actually, no, that's a bad example. If you think, so I believe in customer relations, right? So if I produce the book, right, and I'm at a con and it's my first book, chances are I'm probably not going to charge for a signature because I want to build a relationship with my audience so that they come back to me and I want to make them feel good. But now if it's my 20th or 30th book and I've worked for Marvel, DC, or Image, or I had a runaway book that did $200,000 on Kickstarter, I might then charge $10 because my market value has changed. And so, but in my first one, I probably wouldn't charge if it was getting graded. I probably wouldn't charge. If I was an artist and I was doing a remark, I might charge $15 on it just because it's a little more work. But ultimately, in my first few, I'm going to, try to build and maximize that thing. Or what I might say, hey, I'll sign it, but could you follow me on Twitter, right? Because now I'm trying to build a relationship. And so there you go. Atrocity Press, I think it's Max.
Yeah, Max says right here, I get this, except for the fact that some people can ruin the damage of their own signature.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a Secret Empire Zero signed by Mark Brooks. I could not give that away during 3 days at a Comic-Con. I could not give it away because dude has ruined his reputation so badly on social media that nobody would touch it. I mean, there's, there's some people who, I really want a book signed by them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who, I really want a book signed by them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who, I really want a book signed by them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who, I really want a book signed by them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who, I really want a book signed by them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who, I really want a book signed by them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who, I really want a book signed by them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who, I really want a book signed by them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who, I really want a book signed by them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who, I really want a book signed by them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who, I they can ruin that value. You can pay a whole bunch of money for something like that, and then they can go out and say something stupid on social media and plummet the value of it.
Yeah, I think something like Campbell is pretty good. Even when he got called out for like the 601, he handled that thing with grace, and then it was brilliant, and it benefited him tremendously. And so I think certain people are mature. So if you buy or got a Stan Lee signature, or you got a J. Scott Campbell signature, those people are really, really good.
Max, we were at the con live at Savannah. It was live. We couldn't give it away, dude. We don't have to make a video.
I've never charged for a signature, but it's kind of getting to that point where, and I have an artist friend who does this. He doesn't charge for like the first 5 signatures, but if you come up to him with
stack, he's gonna get you.
Yeah. If you stand with like
it makes sense
over 5, then he's gonna charge you a few dollars per comic because you're taking away
Holding
from that customer behind him or whatnot.
Don't hold up the line, yo. If you got a whole bunch of stuff, stand at the back of the line. Let everybody else get their birds.
And I'm about to have an exclusive that goes out, and that the place that's getting this exclusive is like, you're gonna sign all 100 comics, and I'm like, yeah, I'll sign them, but is that time? Should I charge for that time?
Paul?
Yeah.
You need to come up with just a classic PG for your mark on.
No, my signature doesn't take time at all. I mean, like I said, I don't charge.
I'm talking about you. You know, your penmanship ain't like. It's not a beautiful signature, bro. Pretty PG that you can scribble out really quick. That looks good.
I've had a lot of people tell me they love my signature. What are you talking
about? You brought up a really good point, though, Paul, where I've seen that too. A lot of these guys in DC and with shoot a comic sketch at a lot of these cons, they'll sign 2 or 3 for free. And, then after that, it's about $5 a book, which isn't terrible. And I think it is a nice, way how to balance it, because when you put money into something and, money is a deterrent, or somebody really wants 100 books signed, well, it's hard to say no to $500. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but also I think that at a certain point they would say, hey man, maybe you should come back tomorrow for the other like 50 or the other 30. I think that though it is a nice balance, because again, money definitely makes people become selective, but also what they do is that they charge, for CGC books as well, which I also think is smart too, because again, writers and artists are now learning how to protect themselves and learning that things are expensive. And anytime the potential of a book goes a certain way, you got to protect it. And so I think that's also a nice balance. And I think it's going to be a balancing act for every new creator, is that if all of a sudden you produce the book and now you're in Hollywood writing the screenplay, well, you might have a little bit more of a reason to charge, because your movie is greenlit and it's going to be out in a year and a half in Hollywood. So you might have a little bit more juice to make that argument, versus you don't have a movie deal on the table, you're pitching it, but should you really be signing? And so I think that's where it gets interesting. But also, if somebody came to you and had 30 of, PTSD, you might say, it'll be $20 for me to sign all 30 of them, because that it's $30 and that they're going to be resold in somebody's shop. Right. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, with the volume, you should definitely put at least a few dollars on it. Now, we reached the hour mark, so we're going to go ahead and close this out. But I appreciate you stopping by. It's always great talking to you, Andrew. I mean, if I had an entire day with you, I'm sure I could question you all day long with your expertise. But
no, me and Pops would not become friends if he joined us at the end of that.
Come on, Andrew. We've been out on a drunk stream together. You all right? All right. I got nothing against you. Look, I don't have things against people that have a different viewpoint than me, unless they try to say mine is not valid. Okay, when they say my point ain't valid, then we have an issue. You see what I'm saying?
Pops, your point is not valid right now because it was a joke. No,
there's 2 sides to every issue. In some places there's more than 2. There's we pointed out many different ways of looking at AI art. Okay,
I
graphic
was
for graphic
joking.
design and shit like that. That shit has its place. Okay, that's but for creating comic books, nah. And yeah, you're not going to stop it from happening. There's going to be people that are going to go out there and they're going to try and play it off like this is something they drew.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's a discussion that we could have all day long. That's 100 other topics.
You're going to have that. You're going to have people that go out there and act like this is something they created with the pencil and paper.
I was just making a joke. That's all I was doing.
All right. Like I said, we need to end it off because I don't want to really go past more than an hour here.
You're already past an hour. You're an hour and 14 minutes because we started a few minutes early, remember? Or something. Hour and 11 minutes already.
I don't want to take too much of Andrew's time.
Yeah. I got all night anyway.
Well, you stay on and we'll talk after this then.
Yeah, I'll play the ads on the way out. I got to get ready for another show because we got a full lineup on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We don't have no time to.
Thank you for coming by.
Bullshit in between, yo. Paul, thanks again. Great show, bro. Andrew, like you say, you're always welcome out here, man. You know what's up.
No, I'm happy.
We gotta have people from the other side. If we don't have, it's an echo chamber. If we don't have people from the other side and other, viewpoints. What good's an echo chamber? You don't learn anything. Nobody learns anything. So, y'all have a great night. Peace out. All that crap. And we're going to be out of here, yo. Let's play that one because he was in the chat.
You How do you end this thing? How do you put the where's the brakes on this bus? I forgot.
Jazz
how to do
hands. Jazz hands are
All
great.
right.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals.